What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video, here to give you guys my final thoughts on Far Cry 5. Now, I will be getting into a little bit of spoilers, although I think most of the things I'm going to talk about are pretty commonly known, at least in terms of facts that typically the good guys win, typically the bad guys lose, and all is right in the world. And that's pretty standard fare for most Ubisoft games. So if you don't want to know anything at all about Far Cry 5, then I totally understand. Save this for later and come back then. For everybody else, I want to tell you guys that I just rolled credits on it, and I know I'm really late to this. I am trying feverishly to blow through my backlog in preparation of the next generation of consoles, and Far Cry 5 was next on the list. Did I like Far Cry 5? Yes. Would I recommend it? Yes. But there are some caveats to this game. Now, with all Ubisoft games, they have to strike a very, very delicate balance between not giving you too much while giving you enough. And I have to say that for the most part, this game is very fun to play. Although to me, it really started to drag on towards the end, particularly in the last third of the game. Primarily because the game follows a very, very laid out procedure. And once you've seen everything in one of the three zones, you can almost expect exactly to see it happen again and yet again. Only at the very, very end, that final confrontation, are things slightly different. But even then, it still rings kind of similar to all the other confrontations coming up to it. So when you're going through all of these zones and you are slowly and methodically chipping away at the seed family, that is a really cool mechanic, because anything you do slowly gives you reputation points that allows you to progress the main story. You can go off and recruit other people to help you. You can take down random groups of soldiers and major outposts. You could just find them walking along the street or taking people hostage. There's a lot of things you can see and do that allow you to participate in this. You do not, by any stretch of the imagination, have to get all of the followers. While there are some major mission beats through every single part of each zone, the reality is there's a lot of ancillary stuff you can do whether you want to or not, which I really liked that freedom, because it does allow you to play the game your own way. And I think that's where Ubisoft games have always excelled, in allowing you to tell your own story. And that is kind of in alignment with what Yves Guillemot, the president of Ubisoft, had said many, many, many years ago, that they wanted to get less on story and more on the simulation part of a game, allowing players to kind of build their own narrative. And I think they really, really nailed it with Far Cry 5. Yes, you are going to do some hokey things, but ultimately you're going to play the game that you want to play while progressing the story in a way that you want to do so. And I did appreciate that a lot. Now, the part where I really did enjoy the game, and what really blew me away, really more than anything else, was just how zany the story can get. And I think you have to go into this game expecting a pretty good level of zaniness. This game really does tote the line on early Grand Theft Auto levels of nonsense. Really, when it comes down to some of the side quests and some of the side characters you meet, everybody is deranged. They are really, really nuts. They're genuine and pure at heart. So there are definite notes of games like Borderlands, for example, kind of injected into this universe. But these characters are just Looney Tunes. You're going to meet some very, very eccentric characters. I think, to me, I didn't find their stories all that riveting. They were goofy and it made me kind of smirk, but they seem to go on a little bit too much until you unlock them. Most of them have 2 or 3 quests that you need to do in order to convince them to join your cause, which then they will become permanent companions. Now, this game does have a strong emphasis on that companion aspect, and you are allowed to have up to 2 companions with you at any given time. The companions can be the named companions, like some of the main people you'll meet that are clearly marked on the map, like Cheeseburger, the grizzly bear, who is very bizarre. Just a giant grizzly bear who likes cheeseburgers and barbecue until he got the diabetes. It's so stupid. See, I'm laughing about it now. You're going to meet named characters like them, but you're also going to meet unnamed characters, just random resistance fighters that you'll just come across doing their own pockets of resistance, whether it's, fighting some random enemies on the side of the street, or you'll see them trying to sell wares to you down by the river. They're all over the place. You can recruit them. They're definitely more throwaways. The problem I had with the companion system is I felt that it ultimately failed because the game is so frantic and so crazy at times. The companions just don't have the logic to keep up. Now, they will throw just total amounts, just packs and packs of enemies at you. It's in an attempt to overwhelm you. And that is really when the game shines the most. When it's frantic and wild gunplay and grenades and rockets and explosions and fire is going off, that's when the game's the most fun. But unfortunately, your AI companion just doesn't seem to kind of get that. And they put themselves in very stupid places. They, just bull rush into an empty field where they get mowed down instantly. They don't understand standing next to a car that's about to explode. They don't walk away from it. So I turned all them off. It was fun to collect them, to see them, to learn about their stories. For the most part, I mean, they weren't, riveting. And like I said, some of them did go on a little too long. But it was, once I got them, I didn't use them. I just wanted to play by myself. And I had a much more fun time doing that because the companions are constantly chatting to you. They're not constantly whining to be revived or, just not really being helpful. The game does allow you that mechanic if you want to try to play, that Ubisoft light stealth. The reality is, though, you're going to have a hard time doing that because enemies, once they see you, they all see you instantly. It's very hard to recover from a mistake. So if you're trying to be stealthy and get a suppressor and a sniper rifle and sit way out on the hill, yeah, you could slowly snipe through everybody. The reality is a guard is going to find you eventually, and then they're going to ring the sirens, and you're going to have to fight 3 or 4 waves of enemies with helicopters and with attack planes and all these crazy things. Feral wolves, they're just going to throw everything at you, and you're going to have to fight your way through all of it. Ultimately, it's going to turn into just a total run and gun fest. And that's really where the game excels. And I did like it for that. Now, despite the fact that it takes place in, some rural part of America, they did a really good job of having each zone be very distinct. And it really played into the theming of that zone, into the villain of the zone, whatever seed brother you were dealing with there. Our sister. I really like that because it was really like 3 separate games in one. You had one region that is very, very mountainous. It had a lot of tall mountains and caves, and it was very difficult to navigate and really difficult for enemies, or very easy rather, for enemies to block your path by putting in blockades you almost couldn't ignore. You go into Faith's region, for example. She was in charge of the production of this magical drug. A lot of empty grass fields, a lot of flat, fertile land, lots of rivers and stuff to go through, and very, very different. And I like that. It was cool to go through each area. This game definitely does reward you for exploring because on top of constantly chipping away at resistance points, you're going to come across these little pockets of some sort of resistance. It will typically lead to some sort of treasure map or, caches of money or caches of guns. And it makes you feel like it was worth something. Now, this game does really closely guard its legendary or named weapons. A lot of those you're just going to have to buy straight out from cache, and they're shown to you very early on, prominently displayed in the Ubisoft store, which you see constantly, which is a little annoying. But no, you don't have to participate and spend money if you don't want to. But spending all that money is optional, but it will show you the guns right there. So you're going to see all the legendary type, exotic skin, really cool looking guns right off the bat. So that's why I say when you're exploring and kind of going off in the world and looking into things, keep in mind that you're going to see what you can get pretty much at the beginning, but doing all that side stuff, getting money, getting maps to other treasure rooms and stuff are still fun. Still rewarding. You still are going to unlock some interesting skins for your character if you're into that, or interesting vehicle skins, that sort of thing. So I did appreciate that. If I could make any suggestion on whatever Ubisoft is doing for, I'm sure, Far Cry 6, which we're going to see at some point in the immediate future, it would maybe be to kind of mix up the formula and how you handle killing off leaders of each zone. It seems like Ubisoft games now are very, very dependent on this. Go into a zone, kill the captain, raise the flag, capture the zone, move on to the next thing. And I don't necessarily mind that because it does give you some driving goal in a particular region. It's just all of the boss fights in this game and all of the way you handle things is done almost identically. People will capture you, you will escape magically. There's some hijinks to be had, some magical, you'll suddenly get knocked out and wake up in some weird camp and you have to fight your way out. It was played out. I had to do everything 9 times. You have to do it 3 times for each of the sub bosses before you get to confront Joseph Seed. And it was just like, okay, enough's enough. I did play this game right now because I did just pick up Far Cry New Dawn, which I'll probably be getting into in another week or so. I'm going to take a break from Far Cry for a little while and go off and do something else and come back when it's fresh and new. But if you're like me and you're kind of late to this franchise, I think Far Cry 5 is an absolute phenomenal place to jump right in. You don't have to have any knowledge of any of the previous games. It'll give you that sense of the really beautiful open world Ubisoft magic that they do. Really phenomenal graphics, really phenomenal fidelity on everything. And you're going to get a dose of some ridiculous side quests that may make you laugh, may make you cringe, but definitely do mix up the pace of an otherwise pretty humdrum story. Now, I hope that they take some villains in the future and make them a little more prominent instead of just little cutscenes. I would like to see more of the villains winning in between these games. It seems like you come into this world, and this is really true for any Far Cry game, you come into the world and you systematically win every single fight, every single confrontation. It would be really nice to see the villains actually kind of push the flow back. I don't know if that's going to happen in New Dawn or not. I'll let you know when I get to it, but that's really my best suggestion going forward is just some variance of the gameplay and, have the villains do something a little different. But all in all, I wanted to I wanted to do this video as a kind of a love letter to Far Cry because it is a really fun franchise, and I think Ubisoft should be commended in making such a cool game with tons of weapons and vehicles and animations and voice acting. It was really, really well done. It was an incredibly polished game, and it's super dirt cheap right now, so you really don't have any reason not to check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and my kind of review and critique of Far Cry 5. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this game. And thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.